NFL Stableford League fans, players, and owners. It is Lefty79 once again, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, back with another installment of the NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. This time we're after week number 10. So we're heading into the double digits now, and then we're getting into the middle of November toward Thanksgiving, and this is when the games are really going to start heating up, and the competition is going to start getting even hotter as the playoffs are upon us in the next month or so, and there's going to be lots of good games from now until January. As wow, the time has pretty much flown by on this season, and we will start off here. Well, on the screen, as you can see, all is right in the world again as the Chancellor of the Cellar, Art Vandelay, is back at number 32 this week after a 1 week hiatus. The Cardinals are 2-8 now. They are dead last in the NFC. At the number 16 spot. The last week they were 31st, so they drop one spot this week. The Cardinals do after losing at home. Seems to be a theme this year to Carolina, 26-24. That's a tough loss for Art, but he takes it all in stride. Playoffs probably not going to happen this year in Arizona after such a great season in 2020, but just not putting the points on the board, and maybe for Thanksgiving they can get a bushel of points or something for Kyler in the gang instead of a turkey. But it seems like they've been getting a lot of turkeys lately. Just not able to push the ball across the goal, and it's just been that way all season for them. And I'm not saying they're completely out of it, because we still have another 7 games to go yet. Arizona does, because they've already played 10 games, and then now we're in a 17-game season, so they do have a shot at running the table. But they're going to have to do that starting this week at Seattle, who is 2-7. Right now, I mean, Seattle's definitely coming off a tough loss of their own, and both those teams, it seems kind of like an elimination game to me out in the NFC West, as that's a divisional rivalry, and that will be interesting. The Battle of the Birds in week number 11, and that will be interesting to see who comes out on top there. But the Cardinals are on a 7-game losing streak right now. They're on a bender. It's it seems like the roller coaster ride. They want to get off it here pretty soon. So, but I do have a feeling the Cardinals are going to taste victory one more time at least this season. I'm pretty confident in that, because I know Art has the ability in all the competitions Art plays in, and all the different organizations and comps he's ever been in. He's had his ups and downs, and this season in this league can probably be considered a down for him, but he's got plenty of Venturas and plenty of birdies in his cachet, and I think he's going to get hot in a couple weeks yet this season, and maybe put a few more wins on the board for Arizona. But I'm pretty sure after last year bringing them a divisional title, his job is pretty much safe. I mean, he's probably, they're probably just going to chalk this up to a rebuilding year. And there might have been, and I'm guessing the injuries aren't helping either. So, especially when you have the retirement home down in Arizona, with all those guys that are pushing that AARP card age. But we'll see if Arizona can bounce back as we now move up to number 31. It's the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are 2-8. They are the last seed in the AFC, but surprisingly, they're not really that far out in the AFC North, in the AFC South. I mean, they have an outside shot. I mean, the division leader is 4-4-1, and they're 2-8. So the Titans, if they can get going and get on a little bit of a roll, they can find themselves right back into the divisional hunt there. But Platypus Brigade had a tough one this past week as they lost 26-25 to New Orleans. They're down 2 spots this week from number 29. So the Titans, big, that's tough to lose at home to Greg. The Saints were having a tough go of it heading into that game, and the Titans just couldn't put them away. It just was, they let them hang around, and at home you really want to just jump on a team, but the Titans just weren't able to get that done. And unfortunately for them, they take the L, and that's 6 in a row now. Um, Difficult to bounce back from that, but if anybody can do it, I think Platypus can do it because he's got a pretty good attitude on his streams. Doesn't really get too down on himself, and I think that's what you need to do. I mean, you just need to come back the next hole or the next drive and give it all you got, and just play each hole, play each drive different, and just got to put the past behind you if you have a bad one, and hope for the best on the next one. And I think the Titans uh, tend to have a little bit more of a pep in their step on their streams when they're playing against a divisional opponent, and that is what they're going to get this week as they're playing the Houston Texans of Paul at home, and they're 4-5. So this is a get back game for the Titans. If they can take the W here, that they'll move right up into that in the shouting distance in that AFC South. So we'll see if they can get the job done. But keep the streaming going, Platt, and hopefully the bounces start going your way at home. As the last couple times I've tuned in, it's looking like it's been a little bit of a struggle. So maybe this week they'll get the game plan tuned a little bit more and maybe put a big one up on the board against Houston this week. As we now move in to number 30. It's Polecat, Josiah, and the Carolina Panthers making a jump this week up to number 30. They're 2-8, and they were 30. They were in the cellar last week, but they moved up 2 spots on the heels of that big win against Art and the Cardinals at Arizona, 26-24. So a nice road win for Carolina, and right after they signed Cam Newton. So that tells you right there. I mean, Cam came in, went nuts, and Polecat did the same. So life imitates art here. Well, not Art Vandelay, but art in general. As Carolina is now moving in to that 15th spot in the NFC. So yeah, they got a ways to go, but they're in the NFC South, and that's very similar to the AFC South. You have an under 500 team leading that division in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Carolina Panthers find themselves only 2.5 games behind. In 3 back in the loss column and 2 in the win column. So you're 2-8, and you're the Carolina Panthers, and you're thinking, hey, I still got a shot here. Especially with 7 games left to go. This extended season, or this lengthier season, is definitely playing to the advantage of some of the teams that are maybe in the past would have been packing it up right now for the golf course. Well, in real life, yes, but since we are playing golf in this league, we're not on vacation. We're actually playing every week, but at the same time, the Carolina Panthers are not ready for vacation yet. I think they're still going to get going here and maybe put a few more wins on the board in the next month here, and maybe get back into this divisional race. And they'll have to start off this week doing that against the Washington football team at home. Now the football team is 5-4, and they want to move up. They are not really thrilled with their position right now. And the Panthers, to them, they probably just see them as a speed bump. But we'll see. I mean, if the Panthers can put up a big number on their home course at their home field and get some crowd support for Cam Newton and the defense that they have and their young team. Who knows? I mean, they could put up a big number, but right now the football team is probably going to come out really solid. And as the Panthers, you got to understand that you're the underdog, and just play fun, play fast, play loose, and just have a good time. And maybe those birdies will just start piling up. We'll see what happens. But that's the Panthers, and they're at number 30 this week. As we now move up into the number 29 spot, and it's Chinatown and the Las Vegas Raiders at number 29, who are 2-7 this 2-7 with a 2-7 record, and they're number 15 in the AFC right now. They're down 3 spots this week from number 26 after a tough loss at home to the Chiefs. Yep, that's a divisional rivalry, and that's a tough one as the Chiefs came into Chinatown's lair and took them down 28-26. They came into the black hole and just pillaged it and took that W. And that's tough. I mean, that was a pivotal game there in the division, and that's going to really make the Raiders have to get on a roll here. As in their division right now, they're 6 games behind. So the division title is probably out of the question, as you only got 8 more games left. So you're going to have to really go on an absolute roll if you're going to catch the Chargers in that division. But the wild card, still not out of the realm of possibility, but it's got to start this week, and what a week it's going to be, as you got the Cincinnati Bengals coming into Las Vegas, and they're coming in with a 7-2 record. And now, will the gambling and the vices of Las Vegas affect a young team like the Bengals? We'll see. Could some of the players be out after curfew? Could there be some issues there? We'll see. I mean, the Raiders are used to being there by now because they've been there a while, but they're on a 4-game losing streak, so they gotta shoot some. They gotta roll 7s or 11s this week. Otherwise, they're gonna come up craps. As the Raiders definitely need this win, but there is some kryptonite against the Bengals. Is if they only score 28, they tend to lose. So we'll see. Maybe the Bengals score 28. The Raiders could maybe pull this upset out, as they need to get this one badly, as they are really seeing their chances in that AFC start to go down the drain. So that's the Raiders right now, and now we'll move up to the team just above them right now in the rankings. Who is it? Who will it be? It's the New Orleans Saints of Greg McMillan. They're 2-7. They're up 2 spots this week from number 30, and they won at Tennessee, as mentioned a little bit earlier. And now they'll have to go and travel to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Now, will there be some brotherly love for the New Orleans Saints? We'll find out. As the Eagles right now are not playing very well. They're 5-5 on the season, and they're currently on a 3-game losing streak. So this is probably not a bad time to be playing them if you're the New Orleans Saints, and really in need of some divine intervention a little bit here. But they're getting it, as they could definitely use it this week, as they are now only 2 games behind in the NFC South. So if you're the Saints, you're not feeling too bad right now, knowing that your division leader is, you're 2 games back, and there's still lots of games left to play here. So if the Saints can somehow, some way, put together a little bit of a winning streak here, I could see them making a little bit of noise in that NFC South, and it'll be definitely a little bit. They'll make it a lot more interesting than what the Buccaneers had in mind. So kudos to the Saints, though, for picking it up and getting that win on the road at the Titans, which Not the easiest place to play, but the Saints were able to get the job done. And now we move up to number 27, a team that just wasn't able to get the job done, but they don't move anywhere this week. It's the Seattle Seahawks who stay right at number 27 after a loss at Green Bay. The Seahawks are 2-7. They're just above the Saints in the NFC race at number 13. The big difference is they're in the NFC West, which the 49ers have just run away with that division and are now 5 games ahead of the Seahawks. So the Seahawks really, their only real shot is to get into the wild card somehow, and they're gonna have to start doing it pretty darn quick. And they're gonna start by playing against the Arizona Cardinals at home, who are 2-8. So this is a good chance here for the Seahawks to just get something going. They're on a 2-game losing streak after losing at Green Bay. No shame in losing to the Packers right now, as they're starting to figure it out there up at Lambeau, especially now with the weather getting a little bit colder. The games are going to get a little bit tighter, and opponents are going to have a little bit more work cut out for them, as that weather can get a little bit nasty. But it can get nasty in Seattle too, and we'll see if it does for the Arizona Cardinals' chances in that NFC West matchup. But I see the Seahawks. I see them getting back here to getting their bearings at least, and getting this win, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come for them, as they're not completely out of it. I mean, they still have a shot at a 10-win season if they can go run the sheet or go off the sheet here, but that's a bowling term for striking out or just punching out. But we'll see. I mean, if the Seahawks can do that, that that would definitely go a long way towards getting themselves into the playoffs. As we now move up to number 26. Got another bird team. We had all the birds here in a row. It's the Atlanta Falcons of Ruby Rock. One spot ahead of Christmas Seahawks here at number 26. The Falcons are 3-6. They're number 11 in the NFC. They're down 3 this week from number 23. So they lost at Dallas, and it wasn't easy. It was not a pretty game. They lost by a full 6 points. They lost by a tutty. They lost by a touchdown, 29-23 at Big D, and that's gonna hurt, as that's a conference game as well, and that could have been big for a tiebreaker, as those two teams are pretty close in the record, as we'll find out here. But next, the Falcons will go back home, and they'll go back to the nest to play the New England Patriots, who are 8-2. That's going to be a tough game, and the Falcons are going to definitely need to be ready for that one, as the Patriots are on a roll right now. In terms of the Patriots have been very consistent wherever they go, and the Falcons, on the other hand, have not been. So we'll see which team shows up in Atlanta, the good Falcons or the not so good Falcons. And for Ruby Rock's sake, for Allen's sake, hopefully it's the good Falcons, as the Patriots are going to come out and they're going to put up a decent score. So, but as the Falcons now plan for that game, I mean, they're only a game behind in the NFC South. So a win there, and that makes things a lot more interesting in that division, as they could find themselves after Week 11 somehow tied for the lead in the NFC South. Wow, what a season. It's been wild, and it's not even over yet. We still got lots of time here before it's all said and done. But now we're going to head up into the top 25. And at number 25, it's the Dallas Cowboys of Scott Pizer. They just defeated the Falcons last week, 29-23, and now find themselves 3-6 at number 10 in the NFC and up 3 spots this week. Uh, Good win. That's a big home win. And the Cowboys tend to, when they win, they usually score a ton. It's when they don't. It's just the consistency. It seems like they're really hot and cold. And I don't know if that's because of Dak's injury or if the just some inconsistency with the line or just something. Just seems like for some reason they'll really pour on a lot of points and then one week they'll just have a dud. But that's where the Cowboys are at right now. And next they will play at Kansas City, who is 5-5. Now Kansas City has had their ups and downs as well this year, and they're coming off a big win. So at the end of the day, the Cowboys are going to have to match that intensity as the Chiefs. They're locked into a big battle out in the AFC as that conference is just so close right now. 500 doesn't even get you, you know, near the playoffs. I mean, you're still like a couple games behind yet. So the Chiefs have a lot riding on this game coming in. But the Cowboys, if they can get a couple wins together, they'll be right back into the mix in the NFC wildcard picture. I mean, they're number 10 right now, but you get a couple more wins and you're right back and you're right in it. So, because right now the number 7 team in the NFC is 6-4. So yeah, you got a little bit of work left to do, but we'll see if the Cowboys can get the job done or if they're going to be bucked off the horse this week. So we'll see what happens as we now move up to number 24, another 3-6 team who is coming off a bye, and that is the monsters of the Midway, the Chicago Bears, who check in at 3-6 as mentioned. They're number 12 in the NFC. Riotous is up 1 spot this week after the bye, as there's a little bit of volatility in these rankings, as you'll see a little bit later on. But at the same time, the Bears are on a 4-game losing streak, and they got to change that. They got to find a way, and they've been playing solid. The difference is just some heartbreaking bounces and some tough penalties and things that have happened to them that have just cost them games. And they're playing solid. They're playing solid on offense. The defense could be a little bit better, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're scoring points, and it's just a matter of will they get some bounces at home this week against the Baltimore Ravens, who come in at 6-3 and are playing some pretty darn good ball, playing some good ball themselves. So if the Bears can come in and take that extra week of preparation that they just had and put it to good use, I can see them getting a big upset win over the Ravens this week. And that place, Soldier Field, is not an easy place to play anytime. And if you give the Bears a week off going in, it just makes the job a little bit tougher, as now they're going to be rested and healed up and ready to go. So we'll see what the Bears can do this week. I'll be interested in seeing what they do, as they're in my division as a fellow division rival. So good luck to them as we now move up to number 23. A team that had something weird happen this week. It's the Indianapolis Colts of B-Mells, who are 3-6-1. That's right, 3-6-1. We had a tie in the NFL Stableford League for the first time ever in 3 seasons, as the first 2 seasons we weren't able to have them as they were not in the rules, but now they are. And that tie could be a huge thing down the road. We'll see if it does, if it matters or not. But as it is now, the Colts are number 14 in the AFC, which, I mean, with that record, they would be way better off in the NFC. But this is how the conferences are shaking out this year. As the Colts are up 1 spot after that tie against a tough Jacksonville team at home, 29-29. I mean, it went the whole 10 minutes and nobody could score. And it is what it is. I mean, it happens that way sometimes. They played really close, and both teams had a shot at winning it, but just couldn't seal the deal. So, with that tie, the Colts now find themselves right in the thick of that AFC South as they're 2 games back in the loss column and only one back in the win column. So it's a game and a half out, and that's not terrible positioning right now, especially for that division. But the Colts are going to need to put a win on the board to get to at least match that win total of the Jaguars, and they'll have to do it at Buffalo, a team who has definitely had their share of heartbreaks and table breaks. As uh, the Bills are 5-4 and probably should feel like they're a little bit better than that, but they've had some really tough games. And the Colts, if they can go into Buffalo and somehow pull off an upset, that would be huge, and that would allow them to get right into that AFC South tie, at least not tie, but right on the doorstep. And I think right now the Colts just they put a lot of points up on the board at home. It's just I think on the road it's been a little bit of a different struggle, and if they can somehow get over this hurdle against Buffalo, they they're a dark horse. I think to make that a wild card run, if not a division title. So don't count out the Colts just yet, as they have the horseshoe on their side, and that means they got some luck. So not Andrew Luck, but luck in general. As we now move to number 22, well, this one might be a little bit controversial, but there was a lot of volatility in the middle of the rankings this week, and the Texans were one of the victims of that, as they dropped 5 spots this week from number 17 down to number 22. The Texans are 4-5. They're number 12 in the AFC. The Taft man's been playing solid all season long, and they have to show for it the fact that they're only a half game behind in the AFC South. They're right on the Jaguars behind right now. I mean, they have a shot potentially to take the lead in the division with a game at Tennessee this week, who are 2-8. So if the Texans can just take care of business, they could be in a division lead. Now, I don't know if anybody would have thought that earlier in the season, but at the end of the day, I mean, Paul's been playing solid. He has a handicap he uses to his advantage, but in this matchup against Tennessee, there's not going to be much of an advantage, as they're both going to get their handicaps, and they're going to need to use them wisely and try to maximize them as much as they can. So the Texans are a little bit down this week in the rankings, but things are looking up really for them if they can get a win this week. As we now head to number 21, and a team that probably isn't really looking so good right now, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles of Zucchero. They're 5-5, and they're down 5 spots this week from number 16, as they dropped out of the NFC playoff picture completely after losing at Denver pretty handily, 26-21. Denver pretty much put the defense on them, and that knocked the Eagles right out of the NFC playoffs for this week at least. So that's a 3-game losing streak now for the Eagles, as their wings are getting pretty clipped right now, and they're not too thrilled right now in the city of brotherly love. And we'll see if the Eagles can turn things around. It's got to start this week against the Saints at home, who come in with a 2-7 record. Now, this is a game that this could be the critical point of the season for the Eagles. If they lose to the Saints at home, that's going to be tough to come back from in terms of the division race and in terms of getting into a wild card spot. As right now, the Eagles find themselves 2.5 games behind the Giants in the NFC East. So that's right there. I mean, that's not insurmountable, but the Giants are just a tough team to catch, and you gotta. The only way you're gonna catch them is if you win the games that you're supposed to win, and we'll see if the Eagles can do that this week, as they need to get off this losing streak and do it as soon as they can. But we'll find out if they're able to do that. As we now move up to the top 20, let's see who we got. The Kansas City Chiefs of Kike are 5-5. They're number 10 in the AFC, so a 500 record. You still got some teams to leapfrog yet to even get into a wild card in the AFC. So that's how stacked it is over there. And the Chiefs are up one spot this week from number 21 after a nice win at Las Vegas, as mentioned earlier, 28-26. So they didn't move up a ton, but they didn't lose anything. And the main thing is it was a divisional win, and that'll help them down the road, especially for any tiebreakers or anything like that. And now the Chiefs will play at home against Dallas, who are 3-6. Now this is a game the Chiefs should probably win. They're at home. They need to start building some momentum here in the middle of the season. We're getting toward the end here, and if the Chiefs have any hope of getting into the playoffs, this is the time now to start getting going. And you gotta make your move against the teams that are under 500. And I think the Chiefs are fully aware of that, and I think that the work already started at Las Vegas. So can't look past this Dallas team though. They're capable of putting up big numbers, but we'll see if that Chiefs defense can hold them down and get that win in Arrowhead, which is always a tough place to play. As we now move up to number 19, who will it be? Well, flying up the rankings here this week, it's the New York Jets of David Dix, who are up 3 spots this week. So we have a Jets sighting, folks, as they were kind of out to lunch in this season so far, as they're number 13 in the AFC, but they pulled off a big win at home against the Bills in the in-state rival game, and an interdivisional game. I mean, that was a big game for them, 26-21. So they really put it on them, and that's a good sign for the Jets, as that's their second win in a row now, and they're starting to stack some wins. And we'll see if that leads to something bigger here, as now they will be playing Miami at home. And Miami's been hitting the struggle bus a little bit here lately. They've run into some hard times, as they're only 7-3 now, and now they're out of now they're in second in that AFC East. So the Jets can definitely make up some ground here, as they're only 3.5. Well, they're 3 back in the loss column to the Patriots, and 4 back in the win column. So 3.5 out. And definitely nobody's out of it really in that AFC East. If they've been beating each other up all season long, and if that continues, the Jets could be the ones that maybe fly in and take over a wild card spot, or maybe even getting up into that division lead. But it's going to take a big effort here, starting in week number 11 against the Miami Dolphins team that they want to get back to. I mean, they've hit a little bit of a rough patch, but we'll see if the Jets can contribute to that some more, or if the Dolphins will be able to turn things around, as the Jets now are starting to get back into it here in this season. And look out, as they have not missed the playoffs in NFL Stableford since their inception here, since they've been in the league. So we'll see if that continues or not, as we now move up to number 18. Well, it's the NFC South Division leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are at 4-5. They dropped 4 spots this week after losing at the Washington football team 28-24. Now, they're the number 4 team in the NFC due to the fact that they're leading in that division, which, let's be honest, it's kind of a weaker division with some of the teams struggling a little bit. But the Buccaneers had a good part of the season a little bit earlier, where they were starting to put some wins together, and that's what allowed them to leapfrog those teams to get into the division lead. So they have to get back to that mindset and just get back to what they were doing before. But the team that's in their way this week is going to be the New York Giants at home. Uh, so they come into the Big Sombrero at 7-2, do the G-men, and they're going to be looking to take down Brady and the Bucks uh, pretty early, and we'll see if the Giants can go down to Florida and pick up a W. But the Buccaneers, they're not going to give up without a fight. They're not going to walk the plank without putting out a pretty good effort. And right now, they're really protecting that one-game advantage in the NFC South, and they do not want to give that up. But we'll see what happens because the Giants, they're they're not running away with it either in that NFC East. So a battle of two division leaders. This will be a big one. I believe this is the game of the week on Fox this week. So this will be one to watch as two division leaders clash down in Tampa. As we now head to number 17. It's the Los Angeles Rams of Kevin, who are 6-4. They're number 6 in the NFC. They're in the playoffs right now if they were to start today. But they're down 2 spots in the rankings, and as they were 15 last week, and they lost at San Francisco. So they lost against their division rivals for the lead in that NFC West, and we'll see if that has any lingering effects, or if Greg is able to, or if Kevin's able to brush that off going into their bye week now. As I think that comes at a good time for Kevin, as the Rams have been pretty up and down this season. I mean, I kind of expected maybe a little bit more from them with all the big signings they had and the big free agency acquisitions, and I think they're just having a little bit of chemistry issues. They're just not able to get over the hump against some of their division rivals, and that is probably part of the reason why they're a game and a half behind the 49ers right now. As I was expecting the Rams to probably have a bigger splash this year and maybe like try to win that division, but it's still early. It's still not out of the realm of possibility, as the Rams are, they can turn things around here in the second half after their bye. And I think that's what the goal is going to be going forward, as they enjoy this week off while they get to watch all the other teams beat each other up in week number 11. And we now head to the number 16 team. It's the Washington football team of Coinhen, of Zach, or Ashley. Uh, they're up 2 spots this week from number 18. The football team's 5-4. They're the number 7 spot right now in the NFC, so they're in the wild card. They're in the last spot in the wild card hunt. So they want to keep that and maintain that, as they did beat the Buccaneers, as mentioned earlier, 28-24 last week. And next they go to Carolina, a team that really doesn't have too much to lose right now at 2-8. But are going to look to make a name for themselves on the behalf of the football team, who have no real name. But I mean, it's the football team's catching on, though. It's we'll see if they get a new name at the end of the season. But the football team always seems to put out a good effort. It's just at some point, they're going to start putting some big games, putting some wins together. And we'll see if they can make a run in that NFC East, as you got the New York Giants, who are 2 games ahead of them, and if the football team can pull one out, or pull out a few wins in a row, you're right back into the NFC playoff picture, right into the division lead. So we'll see if they can do that, as that rivalry with the Giants is probably what's really on their mind heading into the end of the season, as I believe the football team has a bunch of divisional games you have to play, and some of these games against out of division foes are going to be probably looked at as preparation for those big ones, as the football team pretty much controls their own destiny here. So They needed to get back into the number 7 spot, and they did that, and now they can just keep moving up if they just keep winning. So here we go now to the top 15 as another team that's been really on a roll lately in the Motor City. It's the Detroit Lions. They're number 15 this week. They moved up 5 spots. They're 4-5. So this is an instance where the power rankings probably don't match the record. But the way the Lions are playing these days, they're going to move up soon enough if they just keep this going, as they're on a 3-game winning streak. They're number 9 in the NFC, so they're not even in the playoffs right now. But that's just because they started off really slow and lethargic to start the season. But now they just beat Pittsburgh on the road. That's a signature win right there for the Lions, as they beat them 25-23. Those AFC North teams are tough to beat, and that's exactly what the Lions were able to do. And the NFC, that was a big scalp for them. That was a big one for the Lions to stay relevant, as if they would have lost that game, they probably would have been down in the doldrums uh, trying to find their way out. But the Lions really looking good these days, as they will now play at Cleveland, who are 5-5. So the Lions have a shot at getting back to 500 this week, and they're not. They're really still in the race here in the NFC North, as they're only 2 games behind the Vikings right now. So the Lions really revving it up. They found another gear, and we'll see if they can keep their winning streak going and keep moving up these power rankings. Don't let that record deceive you, though. I mean, this is a team that, they made the playoffs last year, and this isn't the real life Lions. This is the NFL Stableford Lions, and this is a proud franchise. As we now move up to number 14. It's the Buffalo Bills. Bills Mafia checks in at 5-4. They're number 9 in the AFC. Wing had a tough one. Patrick did. They lost 3 spots this week from number 11 after losing at the Jets to their division rival 26-21. That helped them drop a little bit. The tables were breaking out in the parking lot, and so were the hearts in the stadium, as that was just a difficult loss to take. As now the Bills will play the Indianapolis Colts at home, who are 3-6-1. So this is a battle of former AFC East rivals going way back before 2002. I remember when these teams used to play each other twice a year, but now they don't. And now it's going to be even bigger now, because these 2 teams are both vying for relevancy in the AFC right now. The Bills were relevant, but now they're out of the playoff hunt. And right now they're over 500, which is great. But they're still 2.5 games out in their division, and there's still a couple spots left that they have to leapfrog to get back into the wild card hunt. As you got the Steelers, who have a tiebreaker on them, and you also have the Ravens, who are currently in that number 7 spot. So we'll see if the Bills can get it going. If they can get some new tables and get them ready for this week at home at Orchard Park against an Indianapolis Colts team that just kissed their sister last week, and we'll see if there will actually be a win or a loss in this one, or maybe the Colts could get another tie. We'll find out, because I think the Bills are going to be fired up for this one, and we'll see if they can put a big number up on the board at home. As we now head to lucky number 13. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars of Corey, 4-4-1. They're the AFC South leaders, so that gives them the number 4 seed in the AFC for now. They're down one spot though in the rankings this week after tying at Indianapolis, a team that is on their heels in their division. But the, there's a glass half full approach here. I mean, you could say, hey, the Colts were very tough that week, and the Jaguars are probably fortunate to get a tie. But the glass half empty is, well, you should have took care of business against a team that was really struggling. But as it is, the tie is recorded, and the Jaguars are still in the lead in the AFC South. So nothing really nothing was really lost, but nothing was really gained either, and that's just how it is with a tie. But we'll see what happens this week though, as the Jaguars are back home in the warm confines of Jacksonville and Duval as they play the San Francisco 49ers, the leaders of the NFC West. These teams don't really play that often, but they find themselves as division leaders, so this is definitely an intriguing matchup to me, as you got a clash of division leaders, and I believe this one is going to be on a national telecast, so there'll be a lot of eyes watching this one to see where this result goes, as we get a little bit of an AFC versus NFC divisional action here. But we'll see if the Jaguars can grind one out at home, or will the 49ers travel cross country and pick up a big win? Well, we'll find out this weekend as we now move up to number 12. It's the Cleveland Browns of Tim, who dropped two spots this week. They're 5-5. They're number 11 in the AFC. What a difference between what a difference with these records. A 5-5 team in the AFC is 11th. That's mind-boggling how close things are over there. As they lost at New England, which was tough, 26-22. New England's tough though at home, so the Browns gave it a good effort. It just wasn't enough, and now they find themselves uh, really needing to get one at home now against Detroit, who come in at 4-5. Uh, wow, the Browns really. This is kind of, to me, this is kind of, if they lose to Detroit, this could be a signal. This could be a sign that things are really starting to change here in the balance of power between the AFC and the NFC a little bit, because we're seeing some of these NFC teams get on some streaks of wins, and the AFC is just kind of, there's a couple teams in the AFC that have some winning streaks going, but it's only three teams really right now, and I think the NFC's got about uh, NFC's only got a few teams as well that are on winning streaks, but it seems like the ones in the NFC are a little bit more prominent. But we'll see. I mean, it's just one of those things with the Browns. It seems like it's two steps forward and one step back, and this is a week they really need to take a step forward. Otherwise, I could see them dropping a little bit further down in these rankings, as they have been a top 10 team in the last month in this ranking. So we'll see. As that AFC North, I mean, they're still going to be beating each other up till the rest of this season. So it's just tough, because one of those teams is probably going to end up missing the playoffs, as there's just so many there's just only so many spots for so many quality teams, and I'm guessing a team over 500 is definitely not going to make it in the AFC. As we now move to number 11, it's the Stillers, the Pittsburgh Steelers of Pat Strife, checking at number 11. They're 5-4. They're down two spots this week from number 9 after losing to Detroit at home, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. As I mentioned earlier, um, that was a tough loss, but Detroit is playing lights out right now, and the Steelers just kind of got caught off guard. Just That's a tough one, but They didn't drop too many spots because of their record and the fact that they're still within shouting distance in the AFC playoff picture. But the Steelers could really make a statement this week if they can beat the Chargers at LA, who are 8-1. Now, the Chargers, they've been riding really high this whole season, and they've been finding a way to pull out games to get to that 8-1 record. But the Steelers, their playoffs are really on the line here in these next few weeks. I mean, you got to really, they really got to get that steel curtain going again and get those terrible towels out and try to get back to where they were earlier in the season as they've hit the skids a little bit here. But we'll see if the Steelers can get back into the top 10 after. Well, they surely will if they can defeat the Chargers at LA, which I don't believe has even been done this year. So we'll see. As we now head to the top 10, and a surprising team in the top 10, a team that has moved up a whopping 9 spots. With all the volatility in these rankings and the records and things that have happened, the Green Bay Packers find themselves number 5 in the NFC right now at 6-4. How? Nobody knows. But maybe it's just voodoo magic or something. But somehow the Packers move up 9 whopping spots because of all the teams are just beating each other up in the middle at 5-4 wins. And just some of these teams in the middle just were not able to really separate themselves. While the Packers went on a quiet 3-game winning streak on Twitch over some really some teams that probably had every right to think that they won, but the Packers were just able to pull them out, and they did it again this week against the Seattle Seahawks, 27-26, which that was a close game all the way through, and the Packers were just able to pull it out on the last, on a Hail Mary. So the Cardiac Pack finding a way. They are now going to play at Minnesota for the lead in the NFC North. Minnesota 6-3, and a half game ahead of the Packers. So you figure the winner of that game now would be in the driver's seat in the NFC North with at least 6 or 7 games to play. But this is going to come down to the last week of the season, and nothing. Even the winner of that game is still not locked into anything, as there's still lots of division games left to play in the NFC North. But the Packers seemingly have got their bearings after some tough overtime losses this year. To the football team was one of them, and then also to the San Francisco 49ers. And so yeah, there's been some tough games for the Packers as well, but they only really seemingly got blown out against the Bengals, and they've been pretty much in every other game, despite the fact that maybe the points have not been there. But we'll see. I mean, the Packers are tested now. They've won 3 in a row, and are now in the top wild card spot in the NFC. And, maybe this is how it was supposed to be from the beginning, but it just seemed like it was a struggle week in and week out. But with Twitch and with some of the weird things that have happened now, having that weird first half against Chicago and bouncing back big time to somehow pull that one out, it seems like the Packers are a team maybe that's got a little bit of luck on their side that's been working pretty well for them. So, but they somehow got to the top 10 again after starting the season in the top 10. Now they're finally back after a long 10-game after a 10-game break. As we now move to number 9 and a team that was just mentioned, it's the San Francisco 49ers, who are 7-2 and the number 1 seed in the NFC. Nobody really saw that coming, but Jason definitely did, as the 49ers have been on a 3-game winning streak now here in the last month, and were number 13 last week, and I moved up 4 spots. Wow. I mean, they beat the Rams this past week, 25-23, to take the division lead outright. And next we'll play at Jacksonville, as mentioned earlier, in that big divisional leaders clash interconference clash. We'll see if they can travel across country and beat the Jaguars. And if they can do that, I could just definitely see them moving way up on this rankings list. As the Niners' schedule was really not the toughest. They had some games that, maybe they should have, done a little bit better in earlier in the season, but they they pulled out a 7-2 record out of all that, and they're just beating it the team that's on the schedule. That's all they're doing, and it's kind of similar to what the Packers are doing. It's just they're just going about their business and stacking wins, and that's what you need to do heading toward the playoffs here. As the Niners now take the number one seed in the NFC, and now are looking to move up and take the number one seed in these rankings. As there's some teams ahead of them here that have been struggling a little bit, and we'll see if that continues. As one of them coming up here is at number 8, and is down one spot, and we'll see what that team is right now. It's the Miami Dolphins of Cade. They're 7-3, number 5 in the AFC right now. I think I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt after the last 2 games, as one game it seemed like they just weren't themselves, and then this last game against Baltimore at home that they lost 30-26, they looked a little bit better, but it's still not quite there, and I don't know what changed or what happened, but it looks like the Dolphins have definitely maybe gone south for the winter here. I'm not really sure what's going on, as just the waters might be a little bit too salty for them, or something might be going on here, but that loss to Baltimore. Baltimore's a tough team, and there's no shame in losing to them. But next they have to play at the New York Jets, who are 4-5. Now that one's pretty much make or break, I think, when it comes to this AFC East, as the Jets are really starting to get on a roll here, and if they can beat Miami, that would really put a big shot in the tank. That would really crack open the tank, I think, for the Dolphins, as you really don't want to lose 3 in a row anytime, but against a division rival, it just makes it worse, and it counts double. So we'll see. I mean, if the Dolphins can really turn this thing around on the road and get back to where they were and stay in this top 10, or if the slide will continue. We'll find out as we now move up to number 7. It's the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings of Andrew are 6-3. They're number 3 in the NFC playoffs right now. They are down one spot this week after losing in overtime at the LA Chargers by a touchdown, 35-29. That was a close game, though. Don't let the score fool you. That was going to the wire, and the Chargers just were too much in overtime for the Vikings. But we'll see if there's a hangover from this game, as the Vikings will now take themselves back home, and they'll get to play the Green Bay Packers. They're one of their division rivals, who come in at 6-4. Now this is for the lead. This is for the lead in the NFC North, and these two teams, when they clash in Minnesota, it tends to go the Vikings' way. Green Bay just has a tough time sometimes playing up at US Bank Stadium there, and I believe the Packers are finally able to break through last year, which is what helped them propel them to the NFC North division title. But we'll see if that can happen again this year, as the Vikings now are definitely going to have some work to do here to bounce back, as the Packers are really coming in hot, and we'll see if the Vikings can get back to where they were before the overtime loss and turn things back around and just be who they are. I mean, the Vikings are always going to be in the mix in the NFC North, and the Packers are just going to have to try to play the best game they can. So we'll see as we now move into the number 6 spot. Who will it be? It's the Denver Broncos. Now the Broncos are 7-3. They're the number 6 team in the AFC right now. Uh, they're number 8. They were number 8 last week. They're up 2 spots. They won against Philadelphia 26-21. And next they will have a bye week now, so that's a good thing to have going on a 3-game winning streak. So the Broncos are definitely doing what they need to be doing here to be in the playoffs, and now are in that number 6 spot in the AFC, and are also right on the doorstep of the AFC West and the LA Chargers, who they only trail now by a game and a half. So whatever the Broncos are doing, they need to keep doing it, as they are definitely back up to where they need to be in these rankings, and their effort is showing. As we now move into the top 5, who do we got here? It's the New England Patriots. The Patriots are 8-2, coming off a big win at home against the Cleveland Browns, 26-22. They're the number 2 team in the AFC right now in the playoffs, so that's really good, as they'll be hosting a first round game for sure. But they haven't changed in the rankings at all. They stayed the same this week, as that win over Cleveland was kind of expected, but you never want to say that. But they got the job done, and that's what everybody. They were favored and they won. But next they will play at Atlanta, a team that you don't want to look past them, as they've had some big performances at home. And could they do it again against the Patriots and shock the world? We'll find out, as the Patriots are the Falcons are 3-6, and it can be easy sometimes to look past some of these teams that are below 500. But it's any given Sunday. Well, in this case, it could be any given Thursday, as this is on Thursday Night Football. So we'll see if the Patriots can keep their top 5 spot here and stay in that number 2 seed in the AFC, and stay in the NFC or in the AFC East lead, as they have now leapfrogged the Miami Dolphins for that division lead by 1 game. So we'll see. Will they give it right back? We'll find out as we now move to number 4. It's the Baltimore Ravens of Eddie, who are 6-3. They're number 7 in the AFC, so they're a little bit low in the playoff bracket right now due to their record. But this team can beat anybody on any given week, and they've beaten some of the heavyweights in the NFL Stableford already. Hence their higher power ranking than what their record indicates. They stay the same though at number 4. There's no change this week. In week 10 they defeated Miami at Miami, 30-26. So that was a huge win for them. But it didn't quite get them into the next spot here on the list, as they were favored in that game, and the Ravens definitely pulled it out. I mean, it was a very good game though. I mean, it wasn't a runaway, but at Miami, after the way Miami played the week before, people were pretty down on them. So the Ravens just kind of contributed to their slide a little bit more. As we'll see if the Ravens can keep flying high at Chicago, who are 3-6. Now, if the Ravens can win this one in Soldier Field, then definitely they would have to be considered as a contender to move up in the AFC playoff picture, and definitely in these rankings, as there's a little bit of an AFC dominance going on right now here in the top 6. But who knows? There's a lot of NFC teams now that are on some winning streaks and that are getting hot here, and we'll see what happens as we now move into one of those NFC teams that is now in the 3rd spot, and it's been in the 3rd spot for a little while now. It is the G-Men of Tag Rocket, who are 7-2, number 2 in the NFC. After the 49ers were able to clip them for that number 1 spot after their big win. Tag is coming off a bye week. The G-Men are rested up now, and they're ready to go down to Tampa Bay for that battle of division leaders. in the NFC. And the Buccaneers are 4-5. You can't look past them as they've had some big performances at home, and Don, the G-men are going to come out ready to go, and they don't look past their opponents, and the Big Blue is going to try to keep moving up this power rankings list, as I'm sure they really want to get into the number one spot, and we'll see if they can do that. But there's a couple teams in their way yet, and which one of these teams is number two that's still in their way? It's the number two team. No, not the Chargers. It's the Cincinnati Bengals of Jason, who are 7-2. They're number 3 in the AFC. No change this week, as they are also on their bye. So both the teams that were in the top 5 that were on bye did not change at all. As now the Bengals will now go at the Raiders, who are 2-7. Another maybe a trap game coming off the bye week. You just got to be careful not to fall into that trap. But we'll see what happens as the Bengals stay at number 2, which means for, I believe now the third week in a row, it's the LA Chargers at the number 1 spot. They do not change as they keep that number 1 ranking. They're number 1 in the AFC. They're number 1 in the AFC West, and they're number 1 in these power rankings after a big win at home against Minnesota in overtime, where they pulled it out 35-29. And now they will travel, actually they'll stay in LA to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will undoubtedly be bringing a lot of fans from the Keystone State along with them. As the Steelers are 5-4, a little bit of a struggle right now, but we'll see what happens, as anything can happen when two proud franchises meet up. As the Chargers are now on a 6-game winning streak, and that is by far the most in the league right now. So kudos to them. Kudos to Mike Rubino for keeping those Chargers in the number 1 spot for yet another week. As we now head to week 11, I want to thank you for watching and being a part of this NFL Stableford League broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed bringing it to you, as we are now heading into week 11, as this season is definitely heating up. And wow, I'm looking forward to seeing if there is a new number 1 team next week. Who will move up? Who will move down? We had some big movers this week. We had Green Bay move up a big 9 spots. Detroit went 5. The Niners moved up 4. And we also had a few teams that lost spots, a lot of spots this week, as Houston and Philly both went down 5, and the Buccaneers went down 4. Now, will those teams be able to get back to where they were? We'll find out, as this is going to be an interesting slate of games here in week number 11. But this has been Lefty79 for the NFL Stableford League. I want to thank you for joining me again, as we are now running hot here, going right into week number 11. Even though the weather's getting a little bit cooler in my neck of the woods, the games and everything else is heating up. So I want to say good luck to everybody this week, and have a great weekend, and talk to you soon here on the NFL Power Ranking Show, NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. And once again, this has been Lefty79, and I'm going to wish you all a great weekend, and goodbye, everybody.